does the job.
Two very important issues I want to wrap up our discussion with, and I start with the shadow pandemic, as Pat McGorry calls it, the mental health crisis. Yep. Hundreds of kids in Melbourne alone being admitted to hospital every week. Do we have to start, and I know you've invested a lot in it, in the federal government's invested a lot of dollars, but state officials, media, everyone, do we have to increasingly focus on the cost of the restrictions, because it is a tragedy what we're seeing?
Of course. I mean, a lot has talked about the cost of the lockdowns, obviously on small businesses and livelihoods, and that's devastating. But the mental health toll on Australians from these lockdowns is to the point of unbearability. And it is affecting, in some states, even worse than others, particularly those who've been through more lockdowns. And I have no doubt that the premiers are very aware of that. I'm in regular contact with Pat McGorry. He's one of my most important sources of counsel on these issues, as he has been for many, many years. And that's why we've poured the resources in. And can I tell you, there are a lot of heroes in the pandemic, but those are on the other end of the phone, on Lifeline, Kids Helpline, Beyond Blue, the Butterfly Foundation. We've seen, a surge in some disorders over the course of, particularly amongst young people. This terrifies every parent. But this is the urgency that should be pushing us on to implement the national plan. Lockdowns will do more harm than good once we go past 80%. 70% gives us the opportunity for the soft opening to ease into that 80%. There's no freedom day. That's not what this is about. This is about a smart, science-based way to ease in to that living with the virus stage above 80%. We're making great progress on it. The vaccines are there, the supply is there. Please come forward, everyone, and get that vaccine. Your second dose of AstraZeneca. For those over 60, your first as well, continuing. But those vaccination rates amongst our older population now, of which I now include myself, they're going very, very strong. And that provides a layer of protection. And the kids, September 13, 12 to 15, they get to have those vaccinations as well. That's also a very important part of the plan.
Now, as we speak, the Women's Safety Summit is into day 2. Yep. The Gillard National Plan 10 years ago, 2011 was when it began. It's not seen, well, it's basically what we've seen is sexual violence rates go up since then. How will your plan be any different?
Well, first of all, the goal is to end that violence. It's an even more ambitious goal. It's a bit like, when we adopted the suicide prevention goal. And we all understand that these remain big challenges, but you have to go for the absolute outcome and use every effort. Now, I know that Julia Gillard's plan was the best of intentions plan, just as mine will be. And we invested in the Gillard plan over all those years in a bipartisan way. What I want to see, Kieran, is just us continue to deal with this in a well, I said yesterday, an apartisan way. There should be no politics in this at all. This should just be about supporting the services and the resources that are needed, not just at a Commonwealth level, but at a state level as well. And that's what the national plan does. It brings all of those governments together, all of those agencies together. Now, we have put down $1.1 billion on women's safety alone. That's the biggest investment in a national plan there has been, but I described it as a down payment. The scale of this problem, like so many others we're dealing with, mental health challenges we've just talked about, national suicide prevention, mental health more generally in the population, aged care, national disabilities. These are all big problems that we are solving, but they're tough and they're complex. And, I think the Australian people understand there are not simple answers to this. They know because they live with these problems. They know the complexity of what contributes to it. And they know how hard it is to unravel and solve those things, often in their own lives, let alone trying to do that at a national scale. So I think there is just an absolute momentum of dealing with this. And I think what we have to do in this, Kieran, is start accepting each other's good intentions in this. No one has a mortgage on good intentions when it comes to dealing with these very difficult issues. We all come to the table trying to do our best. It's like on closing the gap and dealing with Indigenous disadvantage. I think one of the reasons we've been able to push forward and with some of the things we've done there over the last few years is we've stopped this process of trying to judge each other's intentions and motives. We're all just trying to do the right thing here.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison, appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Kieran.